Liminality has come out of nowhere to become one of the most discussed topics on the internet today, and with the Backrooms now having an entire universe and lore behind it, and with feature films in the future, this is not likely to change anytime soon. However, the popularity of liminal space as an idea has honestly taken away from our ability to discuss the topic, something that I think is overly common as fandom attempts to gamify what is at its core a philosophical idea. So we're going to talk about all of that and more with 2 examples in today's video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello, I'm glad to see you. So about 2 years ago, I put out a video called The Backrooms Explained, Liminal Spaces and the Places Beyond. I think it's a pretty good video, and I'd encourage you to watch it if you're interested in the idea of liminality. In the video, I introduced the concept, then went through a recent upload by Kane Pixels, an extremely talented short filmmaker who brought the idea, partially at least, of the Backrooms, which I'll explain in a moment, to a wider audience. Kane Pixels did not invent the Backrooms, nor was he the sole force to bring it to wider public recognition, but he certainly played a bigger role in accelerating public interest in Backrooms found footage as a genre. And since then, while we've seen a lot of new creative art, we've also seen the portrayal of liminal spaces sort of devolve into several archetypes, like the pool rooms, or, and I'm sure there's a name for this, the sort of warehouse aesthetic you see sometimes. But let me back up a bit, because liminality as an idea is actually incredibly interesting, and my point in today's video is that when something becomes mainstream, especially if it has sort of a niche psychological or even philosophical root, we lose a lot of the nuance and really a lot of the interesting artistic aspect in favor of gamification. And if you look even back on my liminal space video from a couple of years ago, you'll already see this in the comments. Liminality as an idea represents transition, the in-between stage where one is between 2 different points. Liminality has its base in the Latin word for threshold, and when we talk about the feeling of liminality, often, it's associated with feelings of anxiety, uncertainness, strangeness especially, something that's on the edge of being familiar but not quite right, and that's why popular liminal space artwork is often, for example, well-kept but empty hotel pools, something a child would see at the end of the day in a strange place. When I think of liminality, I think of being in school after hours, or the feeling you get while in a graduation ceremony. Liminal spaces, which have dominated online discussion of liminality, have been pigeonholed, at least in popular, widespread discussion, into sort of a self-referential aesthetic. So you'll see big liminal art pages, and often what they're posting is not a space truly with the nature of liminality, but rather a space which has the aesthetics of some of the early popular liminal space images, like the Backrooms, for example. The Backrooms, the most famous liminal space, certainly shows clean but decayed feeling surroundings, those bright overhead office lights. And to be clear, I'm not saying the Backrooms is not a liminal space, because it certainly is. It is genius in that it makes us feel things which we can put a name to, and that's also true of lots of popular liminal space archetypes, whether it is the pool room, or the abandoned mall or play center, or the use of bright but flat lighting. All of that is liminal space. It's liminality. However, it's not all-encompassing. And instead of truly understanding what liminality can mean, sort of the broadness of the topic, instead, as it becomes more ingrained in pop culture, we look for new examples of things, of images, of videos, which fall into these existing visual parameters. In reality, I think if we pushed what we understand to be a visual liminal space or a liminal artwork, we could explore a lot more surrealist art, or just general art which makes us feel the same things that the common images do, but which look a little different. For example, I think because of how the genre is discussed, not enough people have talked about how the Halo trilogy is an excellent piece of liminal art. And not just because the first Halo game, especially the multiplayer maps, do have that empty liminal feeling associated with popular art, but because Halo takes place in a transitionary period. You're visiting these ancient megastructures from a civilization powerful almost beyond comprehension, but which are now gone. You're one of the last Spartans, and as humanity, you're potentially existing in a place between existence and destruction. Halo, at its quiet moments, whether looking over the light bridge on the first level, or visiting the windswept plains of the Ark, or even reading the terminal messages in Halo 3, it gives me that feeling, and I wish we could talk more about cases like that, while still being able to identify that common feeling. But again, I don't think this discussion is unique to liminality. Anytime a somewhat niche idea gains broader appeal, I think it probably gets distilled down to an understandable format, and that's not really a problem. What's an issue with liminality and liminal spaces in particular, however, is the way the gamification has gone even further. For many people, liminality means the back rooms, and in particular that the lore available on, for example, the Backrooms wiki is sort of the overall defining aspect of the genre. And listen, I get it. It's really fun to go on the Backrooms wiki and to look up the various levels of the Backrooms. Oh, an anomalous level. What's that mean? This one has a funny name. That's cool. And it's good that that exists, and it's fun that that exists, but so many young people in particular are being introduced to these ideas and thinking that they have, a set structure to them. That liminality is not a psychological, sociological, or philosophical idea. Rather, it's lore contained in a wiki, in a video game, and maybe a movie, whatever else. But as I said, the Backrooms is not the only case of this, nor is liminal space the only subject. I also wanted to briefly talk about H.P. Lovecraft and weird fiction, because this is probably a greater issue for Lovecraft, although weird fiction is less popular overall. Almost everything that I read about H.P. Lovecraft nowadays, especially on more popular or widespread platforms, has to do with which creature is more powerful. How do you rank the old ones in terms of power? Could Cthulhu take on whoever? And yes, the Cthulhu mythos exists. It's a wider universe and the stories are somewhat connected. But it ends up being somewhat ironic, at least I think it's ironic, that H.P. Lovecraft wrote about cosmic indifference and the idea that there are things beyond human understanding, and we as readers in the 21st century have responded by trying to rank and categorize which cosmic, indescribable, completely strange identity is more powerful than the other one. And again, it's sort of the same issue with liminality. I fear when people engage with the works of H.P. Lovecraft or with weird fiction on this very basic level where they look up the feats of Cthulhu versus whoever else, that they fail to actually engage with the material. There's a reason we're still reading the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Read the short story Polaris. When you do, you will feel something that's hard to put into words. Something beyond just this mythical beast is stronger than this other mythical beast. For me, that's true when I read all of his Dreamer's works. And that's what's at the core of weird fiction. And that's what a lot of people are missing out on. By the way, if you enjoy H.P. Lovecraft, I'm also going to take a second to recommend probably my favorite book trilogy of all time, the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. That's Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance. Annihilation was very, very loosely adapted into a movie, which is actually really good in its own right, but is completely different from the book. Although, if you enjoy that movie and the feel of the movie, definitely check the book out. There's also a fourth one coming, Absolution. I am so excited. But yeah, I hope this video made sense to you guys. I know I rambled quite a bit, but hopefully still enjoying all I've got for you guys. Until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.